You won't miss this big sheet metal fanny in a crowd, and when you're looking at this machine, which is the new Infiniti Q60 Red Sport coupe, it's actually hard to find a bad angle. I'm smitten by the styling here. This is one of those cars you really need to see in real life to appreciate. It's basically a two-door take on the award-winning Infiniti Q50 sedan, or the spiritual successor to the popular Infiniti G37 coupe. This one's got all the goodies, all the tech, and the big output engine which we'll be hearing from soon. It brings Infiniti's presence into the luxury coupe scene once again, where it battles the likes of the Audi S5, BMW 4 Series, and Lexus RC, which you should also be test driving if you're shopping here. It's excellent. And the premise is easy. Here's a machine that brings drivers a delicious sample of the latest and greatest from the luxury performance coupe scene, complete with Infiniti's latest in design and especially technology. It's everything Infiniti has to offer right now, wrapped in the brand's most strikingly styled package. The Q60 is comfortable, road trip ready, and set up to make hours of scenery go flying by in relaxed comfort. It's also very quick, eager to please, and offers up performance in terms of sights, sounds, and sensations designed to get driving enthusiasts salivating.
So, comfort and performance are both on the menu, but where does the Q60 Red Sport sit between these typically opposing attributes? Well, it turns out the answer is just about anywhere you like.
Using the drive mode selector, a tap on a toggle switch lets you select a range of preset drive modes or fully customize your own. Each instantly triggers changes, optimizations, and unique calibrations of various systems. You can effectively change a huge portion of the way the Q60 feels and responds with just a tap. Sure, many cars have a drive mode selector. Usually it alters how sensitive the throttle is, when the transmission shifts, and if it's really fancy, it might even stiffen or soften the suspension.
And here it does all that and lots more. Switch between modes, and the Q60 can also completely rejigger the steering feel, the all-wheel drive system, how or if the car responds in corners by using its brakes to help steer via what's called trace control. One button click and you've altered engine, throttle, ride quality, handling feel, transmission behavior, traction, steering, and some of the modes even tie into how much of the engine you hear by way of fake noise piped in over the stereo, which is cheating, but it's just another layer of customizability. So you can set this thing up to be exactly what you want, whenever you want, from as mild to as wild as you like. In fact, if my math is right, which is unlikely, there are a total of 112 possible ways you can configure the Q60 via this custom drive mode system.
Most Q60s run a 3-liter V6 with twin turbo. That's good for 300 horsepower in regular V6 models, though the engine is tweaked to generate 400 horsepower in the Red Sport version you see here. That goes to all four wheels, in this case via a 7-speed automatic transmission with paddle shift. There's no manual available, which in a car like this makes me want to take a bath with a high-powered toaster, but that's the reality these days. A turbo 4-cylinder engine is available on less expensive Q60 models too. The suspension is adjustable between the softer or harder side of firm and sporty. There's some variation detectable between modes, but none of them causes the ride to either feel too stiff or too squishy like it's made of moistened fancy feast. Steering is another neat story. This is one of the only cars to use a totally electronic steering system, with electric motors turning the front wheels in response to your inputs instead of a good old-fashioned steering shaft. Yes, that's a real sentence. And with no physical connection between the wheel and the front wheels, the steering offers up a full spectrum of unique attributes. Put all the variable systems together and what have you got? The standard drive mode is comfort first, and here Q60 is easy to use every single day. Gears shift early, revs stay low, and the engine's big torque surges the car along with smoothness through traffic without making a peep. The ride is more than comfortable enough for running around town all day or a road trip. It's a touch stiff and athletic, but rarely uncomfortable or jarring. And the steering here is great. It's light, lazy, very quick, and even more when you're parking, where it's absolutely brilliant and feather light. So, standard mode sees Q60 set up nearly perfectly for a comfortable, relaxing, and effortless drive. On the other end of the spectrum is Sport Plus, which mostly turns Q60 into a high-performance thrill ride. Throttle sensitivity is spiked, gears hold on to revs longer, keeping the turbocharged thrust within striking distance. You hear more of the engine. The shocks go full rigor mortis, firming, keeping the body closer to the wheels more of the time, but with just enough softness around the edges that it never feels like it's trying to rattle your teeth out. And the steering goes from light and lazy to heavy and fast, like a go-kart. And with all systems go in Sport Plus and 400 horsepower at the ready, you're set for 0 to 60 in 4.5, and I think you might want to hear what that sounds like. Drive the pants off of it, and most of what you feel is planted, predictable, and highly composed performance. The Q60 never feels like it's out of a fairly large comfort zone, maintaining refinement through and through. If you're after something that'll take you to the ragged edge of handling and grip and light your face on fire, this isn't it. But if you like something that feels completely unfazed and even a little excited by some hard driving, it'll do ya. Don't miss the 7,000 RPM redline either. So it's sort of like having many cars in one, and in no mode does the Q60 ever feel too uncomfortable, too extreme, too soft, or too floaty. It's an authentic sports luxury coupe experience with a wide spectrum of characteristics for you to explore and fine-tune. You take it in from this cabin. Pros and cons here. On the plus side, it's easy to enter and exit because the seats aren't ridiculously over-bolstered and the doors open big and wide. The use of color and texture and high-end materials creates a convincingly upscale feel, and if you're coming into this car from its predecessor, the G37, you'll notice some familiarity and feel right at home. In terms of appearance, it's pretty bang on except for the one thing. And that is this center stack, which has a low-resolution display from 2004 mounted smack in the middle and directly on top of another screen that's high-resolution and looks more modern. The screens are mismatched and clash against one another, and the whole dual-screen interface is a bit confusing at times. I don't think this setup looks great, and that's a problem since it is the visual centerpiece of the cabin. Functionally, decent room at the front seats. Rear seats can hold a few adults in an absolute pinch. At-hand storage and charging provisions near the driver are more than adequate, and the trunk is big enough for a load of groceries or a weekend road trip's worth of luggage for two. I wish the doors were shorter, as you need half of the parking space beside you to open them into. Also, the electronic steering system takes some getting used to before you feel like you aren't fighting it at times, as it constantly makes little adjustments to center the car in its lane. Manually selecting a sportier steering mode does seem to help. End of the day, here's a machine with few weaknesses, many strengths, and one that amounts to money well spent if you're after a very striking coupe that's ready to go in any weather, very powerful, fairly comfortable, and able to transition on a whim into whatever sort of car you feel like driving at any particular point in time. Pricing for the Q60 starts at $46, with the 400 horsepower Red Sport model shown here coming in from $61. Thanks for watching.